Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Cierra. I like to talk about reading and writing, and this video is going to be about Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So I read this book around this month, February. I do not recall the actual day, not just of yet. I wrote it down. I have a planner, not a planner, but like this notebook here that I use during my monthly recaps to talk about books, and I did like my summary there. I just found the page, but I read it. I started it in January, but I finished it on February 10th. I did read the physical copy, and I rated it 5 stars. I bought the copy from Half Price Bookstore, if I remember correctly. I believe it was Half Price Bookstore. I think so. I get a lot of my books from there. Over here in the Midwest, Half Price Bookstore has half price books, so you don't have to pay full price for books at like Barnes and Noble or Target or anything like that. People donate their books. They sell their, well, donate slash sell, depending on, they sell their books. And if you sell your books, depending on its market value, you can get some, get like a discount for buying books or some money back. However they do it, it depends on the books and the publication and popularity of the book. But all of the books at Half Price Bookstore were books that were donated or provided from other places. So all the books there have been loved, at least at one point. And so I bought the book there and I had a really good time with it. It was very hard and not like hard as in like hard to read, but it was a very, very heavy book. I do this thing to myself a lot where I read a lot of heavy books. It happened with me last year when I read like 7 Tiffany D. Jackson books. Yeah, if you can't tell, if you've read any Tiffany D. Jackson book, then you already know what I went through, okay? And I did it to myself again this year. And it always starts off at the beginning of the year too. I always start off with like the messy, heaviest books. And I don't know why. And I wonder why I always have like a month where I barely read because I'm already drained from the heavy shit that I read the month before. And this month I read heavy books. I read Razorblade Tears, The $7 of Dupree, Burn Down Master's House, Malcolm X's Speeches. On Sunday She Picked Flowers. I started The Bluest Eye, but I stopped because reading the first 20 pages in, I was already like, my head hurts. This is so heavy. I need a break. But I really liked all the books. I really liked Razorblade Tears, and I have a lot of different things that came up for me when reading the book. I don't want to dive too much into detail because I want you guys to read it if you haven't read it before, so I'm not going to give anything away. But I really just enjoyed the story of Ike and Buddy Lee doing this journey to avenge their sons, but also it's also their way of showing their sons even in death that they still love them, and that they finally have come to terms with the fact that their sons were gay. And it's a tough journey for both Ike and Buddy Lee, but I think for Buddy Lee it was even harder because of the twist at the end, but also the fact that his family was already severed completely, so he was like a lone wolf. He didn't really have any connections. There was one lady that was his neighbor, that he kind of liked, but he's always just been a lone wolf. He didn't get remarried. He didn't have any friends, so he was constantly isolated. So I feel like he kind of latched on to Ike in this situation, not only because, you know, Buddy Lee's son Derek married Ike's son Isaiah, but also just the fact that Buddy Lee was lonely, and Ike, on the other hand, he, even with losing his son, he still had a solid foundation. He's had a solid environment and relationships. Him and his wife still married, now raising their granddaughter together. He has his own business, so he has employees. He has a whole support team when it comes to outside of home. So like if ever he's feeling stressed, he literally has his receptionist who was literally just like, hey, you need a break? You can go take a break. He has people who can hold it down when he's not there, who also are just very supportive of him, and Buddy Lee does not. So the way that Buddy Lee lashes towards the end and how he handles the situation, I'm not mad at him, because how dare you ruin my entire life from beginning to end. Yeah, If you've read the book, then you know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody who is about to read it or wants to read it. I'm gonna need you to read it because Buddy Lee is gone through it. Both of them have gone through it, but Buddy Lee is completely isolated. He's been going through a lot of this on his own, and just in life in general. And also the conversations that Ike and Buddy Lee have about racism, and the language used when it comes to using certain terms, because Buddy Lee does use some kind of offensive language, not in terms of like saying like the N-word, but like just the way he says it. Like, us Black people, we know what we're talking about. Like when people say like, oh, you people, or other different comments where you're like, I'm gonna need you to be careful, especially if it's from people that you're really close to and you never ever heard them say it before. You're like, the fuck? What was that? And they're like, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant, or whatever. And I feel like that's what Buddy Lee struggled with when it came to communicating with Ike. Not only because Buddy Lee grew up in an impoverished area, but mostly because it was mostly a white impoverished area. And even Buddy Lee said that he's like, I'm never really around Black people, but that's not to excuse his language. Ike was also extremely defensive too. Like there were some parts where I was just like, okay, Ike, I need you to take a break, my guy. Like, we acting a little bit too hard right now. I'm gonna need you to just like breathe, okay? just take a few breaths. But there was a lot of instances where Ike was really just teaching Buddy Lee how to be respectful, which is very much needed. But also Buddy Lee also taught Ike on how to just calm down a little bit. And to really kind of put down the mask, because Ike, to me, he kind of embodied the stereotypical Black man, especially for a Black man who has a gay son. This not even like toxic masculinity, but this perceived masculinity and expectation and behaviors of one where being very stoic, holding it together, while Buddy Lee was kind of spiraling. And I feel like that kind of was like the perfect balance, because while Buddy Lee was kind of spiraling, making jokes, just trying to handle the situation as best as possible, but still being true to himself, while Ike was just very stone cold and stoic, it allowed Ike to open up a little bit more, loosen up, and allow his emotions to come through when it comes to certain situations. I'm also glad that S.A. Cosby didn't have certain characters, unalived. So I'm happy about that. We still kept some familial relationships intact. But it was a journey, I will say that much. It really, in my review that I did for the month of February, the whole twist reminds me very much of Angel from Pose, that situation, and also two of the characters from Little Rot. If you ever read Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi, then you know what I'm talking about. If you have not, I'm gonna need you to read it and then be like, oh, that's what you mean by that. So I feel like that kind of characterization, depiction, I think that's the correct word, was very interesting, because I feel like for me, that is extremely common, especially with those who are not comfortable in their sexuality, or see it as a shame and to be embarrassed by it, that they cause more harm than good, ending up in very dangerous and violent cycles because of their lack of acknowledging who they are and acknowledging who they are and what they what aligns more than and not what aligns better with them versus what they were raised to believe based on their the time that they were born, growing up, in the beliefs that were instilled in them versus who they actually are. So it's a huge not not only personality, but it's just like complete juxtaposition between who they are and what they were raised to be, which causes chaos and violence around everyone around them because they never actually had to process, they never took the time to process who they are and where they are in life, and the implications of that, which now it makes everybody else's problem. Yeah. Yeah, also, I wouldn't say I was very upset with the friends not wanting to speak up because of the people involved in the situation and how crazy it got. Because at first I was like, okay, maybe one of the friends said something or they alluded to this or that, but they were just scared because of the people who were involved in the situation, but also because being part of the LGBTQIA community, it doesn't make you safe against violence with police either. You're still very unsafe. So it's like, what would you rather be? Would you rather be safe in your community, in your little cafe shop, or would you rather be unsafe with people that literally will shoot you for no reason? Just like us. Like I'd rather not say nothing either. I ain't seen nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's not because they didn't want justice for Isaiah and Derek, but because of who they are and the community that they're in and what they believe, and what they believe and who they are is essentially a target on their back because other people are terrible people. So I don't really blame them necessarily for that. It was just a lot of fear. But it'd be crazy. A lot of the scenes when they were going around trying to get information, they were just going off the rails. Ike had some moments too. I said, Ike, no, that was unnecessary. But it was really good. I really liked the book. I highly recommend it. I didn't want to go too much in detail. So if anything that I mentioned intrigues you, please go ahead and read the book. I'll put the link in the description box below. If you like this video, be sure to like it. If you already read the book, comment below the book stack emoji. I'm terrible at letting y'all know, like, to drop something in the comments, or if you want to ask a question, that's great too, or you just have a comment, that's amazing. I'm just terrible at like adding in my spiels and stuff like that. I need to do better with that. But I do have a Substack. I will be linking this to my Substack. So if you're on Substack as well, I'm gonna have just like a little bit of the information, but also this video tied to the post. But I also have other posts on Substack about different things that I write, just things that are on my mind, other things that I've watched or read. I'm going to be doing some more in-depth posts on not just Black History Month, but just the books that I've read this month. There's quite a few ideas that I have, and yeah, I write on there too. I write there. I'm always reading. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Substack. You can find me on Storygraph too, because I update on there. That's where I update my books that I read. I don't update my books anywhere else. I tried Fable. It was fine. Goodreads suck. So if you ever are interested in books that I've read before or just connecting, it's Storygraph. That's where I'm at. Well, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it. Comment below the book stack, or comment or question. If you're gonna read it, please let me know. And until next time, stay magical. Bye.